Welcome back to Market Day Report. We have gone through the day. Our last update on this busy Thursday, grain and livestock trade. Mark Oppel, thanks for joining us, whether watching RFDTV. A lot of new listeners tuning in on Sirius XM, channel 147. You might be one of those. And we, again, passing some major milestones for those of you who have added Sirius XM to your system. It's a great partnership with Sirius XM, and you're a big part of that. Again, showing them the importance of agriculture and rural lifestyles. Let's go to Chicago and to OliverSloup from Trader. He is live at the floor as we take one last look at this grain trade. Oliver, glad to have you here, and really looking forward to you because you always kind of take a look at the end of the week, but putting it all together for us here and now where this grain trade's sitting.
It has been, I feel like we've compressed about a month of trading in just this early morning session and mid-afternoon session.
Yeah.
A lot of volatility across the board, corn, soybeans, wheat. I want to start with that corn contract, though, specifically the May corn contract. We breezed above $4 in the overnight session. Pretty light volume. I think the high was 402. And we saw some selling pressure come into the market after eclipsing that. And I think a lot of that has to do with May options that expire tomorrow. There's about 27,000 $4 calls that come off the board tomorrow, and I believe the market makers are going to want to see those expire worthless and push the market below that $4 level. Now, with that said, there's not a lot of support until 385 to 388. That's the 200-day moving average. So the range has definitely widened out here in the corn contract with the volatility coming into today. We had 13 out of the last 14 sessions close higher. Today, we're kind of wavering right on that fence. The RSI, or the relative strength index, is flashing overbought as it has been for the past two sessions. So it'll be really interesting to see what type of trade we see going into the close. I think today's closing price action will be very pivotal to set us up to close out the week and take us into next week.
Well, I tell you what, tomorrow is going to be a very interesting day. All those who can watch or tune in Market Day Report, we will be here. Want to get your thoughts in the soybean trade and what you see, the rebound after the pullback here, and now double digits back. Well, we're not at highs of the day, but you're certainly, when you're 10 to 11 higher after being lower, what do you think about that bean complex?
Very impressive. I thought we had what we call a blow-off top, where you see the trade go higher and then everyone just flush it down. But really, we were only negative for a short time. We saw buyers come into the market, which is good to see. The funds have been establishing a long position over the past couple weeks, and I would venture to guess they're adding to that, but it had some profit taking earlier in the session. We saw the early morning trade really prop things up on really light volume. You know, the buy orders in the overnight and early morning were coming in at 1 to 300 contracts per trade, and at the open we saw about 13,000 sell orders come in the market and really flush things. So we saw a lot of profit taking. And again, as with corn, today's price action into the close is going to be very important because the volume has kind of died out here in the afternoon as people kind of digest what is actually moving this market. And when you get this high volatile market, I don't know if there are any true fundamental catalysts that are moving this. When you see these bigger swings, a lot of this is just emotional trading and emotional hedging.
Yeah,
so
very good. 3 to 4 lower in corn. We mentioned double-digit higher in soybeans, 10 to 11 cents higher. Real quick, I want to cover the wheat trade before we take a break. I'll have you back and talk about the livestock complex. Wheat down 3.5 in Chicago. Kansas City contracts are down just 0.5 cent nearby May and July, and Minneapolis wheat is down 2.5 to 3.5. OliverSloup live from Chicago continues. We'll talk about the livestock trade one last time in 1 minute. Welcome back to our Market Day Report. Set your clock. It's 10 minutes to the top of the hour. That means time for your livestock update. Let's get started. Back to Chicago and OliverSloup live at the floor at the CME Group. Oliver, just as much as hard to seem like to push this grain trade down and keep it down, it's been very difficult to find any kind of support in the beef trade especially.
Yeah, we saw the market under pressure. We got a little bit of a mid-morning bounce, but we're coming to a little bit of more pressure again here this afternoon as we start the afternoon trade. And I think there's a lot of different reasons for this technical breakdown, or not just weakness, I guess it would probably be the more appropriate term. I think you see some people taking some risk off the table. We do have a cattle on feed report tomorrow, so you're kind of seeing some traders square things up. On the bottom side of this June live cattle chart, we're really keeping a very close eye at 115.40. 147.5. That is going to be a contract low as well as the lows in December. So not that long ago we were there. If that doesn't hold, we could really see a washout, but I suspect that we might be able to see this hold and get some buying momentum if we test that here later today and into tomorrow ahead of that cattle on feed report tomorrow.
Very good. Though, moving over to feeder cattle, and they're looking at more cattle on feed, 6, 7, 8%, maybe more, according to traders like yourself. Looking at feeder cattle, the deferred contracts are a little bit higher, but still a lot of pressure May and August.
Yeah, May's going to be the contract that a lot of traders are watching. That's going to have the most trade volume surrounded by it. And the low that we're looking at for that going back to December and contract low for May is 142.65. So that's going to be a level to keep your eye on. On the top side, there's really not a whole lot of resistance towards 150. So at these levels, it seems like the risk, there's more potential to the upside than the downside. Now, you should be taking that with a grain of salt. If you're a producer, you want to make sure you get things hedged going into this report.
Very good, and that leaves us looking at the hog complex one last time with you. We'll give the numbers, by the way, those of you tuning in on Sirius XM especially. Looking at the lean hogs. Again, we're mixed there, a little lower in the front end, higher on the deferreds.
Yeah, it's kind of been a choppy trade, very volatile. I mean, if you look at the chart, it almost looks like a grain chart, the volatility that we've seen in that here this week. We've gotten some pretty good momentum to the upside earlier in the week, but I wouldn't be surprised to see things top out if that June contract can get towards 80. I think that's going to set up to a potential near-term top, and you're going to see some sellers step into the market and look for a retest of that 75 level that we've seen here in the recent past.
Very good. Oliver, thanks for your time today. What a day it's been. We'll look forward to visiting with you tonight during our Rural Evening News.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
We are too. Thank you. OliverSloup, II Trader. He's Director of Managed Futures. He comes to us live from Chicago. Those numbers, I promised, looking at live cattle futures right now, still lower. June, he says, is the focus there. Down 58, 116.70. Feeder cattle futures mixed here. Their front end a bit lower. The May, he says, is the the volume down 27, 145.15. August down just 8 points, though. And our hog futures lower from the start today. Deferred contracts, that means July, August, October, coming back a little bit, but the nearby May down 27, 76.95, still below 77 at this moment. And June lean hogs down 10 at 79.5, and a 24 hours ago, they were very close to $80. And they're not that, only 50 points away, so not a bad performance, some say, with what's going on in the cattle and feeder cattle.
But, of course, another day to go for the week.
Tomorrow, and we'll talk about that tonight with Oliver.
All right. Thank you very much, Mark.
Sure, you bet.